Good morning. It is Sunday. I haven't even done my exercises yet, but I'm going to try and speak through my mask and reduce the gravel in my voice. Sunday morning, getting ready to head out, and I see a little Brandon Aiyuk has reportedly requested a trade tweet from The Score. Immediately skeptical on The Score, by the way, because not a lot of the filter is pretty wide open for The Score. That's just I'm just taking you through what I'm thinking as I'm thinking through it. There's three things we're going to talk about here. Is the report real? Is the report believable? Actually, four things. Is it even a report? And four, what do I think's going on here? All right, so this is where maybe some of you first saw it. It's where I first saw it. The Score, Sunday morning, 7:38 a.m. I'm up because I thought it'd be good to get up and watch some of the Masters. Sounds better in theory because then you're just watching Tiger zigzag all over the course. So then you look at the very little tiny print, The Score. Where are you getting this information from? And the little hat tip, little tiny print at the bottom. John Frisella. Okay, Fricella. Sorry, John, I'm not positive. And let me be very clear as I go through this. I'm not being snarky. I'm not being dismissive. I'm just taking you through how I view these types of stories. So then I go to John's page at Legend Sports 7. If you want, Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade per confirmation from my San Francisco source. Benjamin Albright and 49er Sports Talk have also done some preliminary reporting on this story. As of Sunday morning, April 14th, the Steelers have been the most aggressive in pursuing a trade for Aiyuk, with the Ravens also expressing interest. My source indicates there's a third mystery team that is coming on strong for Aiyuk, but they refuse to divulge any further information. Overall, wow, fireworks coming. All right, so first thing, and again, this video is not just about this story. This is an opportunity to talk about how I view these stories, filter these stories. I debated whether or not to even talk about this on Sunday morning, but I'm waiting for my wife to get ready. And I thought it was a great opportunity to just kind of talk about how I filter what I believe. So the first thing, like anything, when something gets said, you go, who said it? And as it relates to John Frisella here, I don't know. I don't know him. That doesn't mean he's not true. It's not true. He may not know me. It doesn't mean the stuff I say is not true, right? But I don't have a track record to go off of. I don't know his work. He probably doesn't know mine. Does that make it less legitimate? I don't know, but it makes me less likely to believe it. Okay. I'm not saying just because I'm not familiar with his game that it's not real, but I'm not familiar. So I'm very, very skeptical. It's that simple. This person's name could be anything, right? This could be anybody. If I'm not familiar with it, then I'm immediately skeptical. That's life, period. Right? You tell me a new restaurant, it's great. I go, okay, well, are you a person that normally tells me about good restaurants? Or are you a person that recommends Mexican food to me in Salt Lake City? Which is it? So I don't know. Second thing, is this even a report? Like a lot of people, this goes back to, if you didn't see my breakdown of the Jags report, right? Oh, Zay Jones and 17. I'm approaching this the same way. Is this even a report? Okay. I try to save the word report for people that I know. And maybe John, maybe this person does this. I don't know. Like, again, let me be clear. I'm not being snarky or dismissive. I just don't know. But to me, report is for people who are journalists and follow journalistic standards of reports. Maybe he does that. We'll find out. Like, I'll find out as the day goes on. Maybe this will age poorly. Maybe this will age well. We'll see. But I don't know. If it's not a report, then it's a claim. And claims are viewed much more skeptically than reports. Okay. Now he does say, well, Benjamin Albright, I do know Benjamin or his work. I don't know him. So maybe there's more, but this is what Benjamin Albright posted on Saturday. On Saturday, he posted a chat from last month, from a month ago, in which somebody says to him, it's not clear who, unless it's this person at the bottom, but I don't know. Steelers trying to get Aiyuk to pair with Russ. And he says, oh, wow, that would be a huge get, opposite Pickens. Or maybe he said that. I think the person who's chatting with him is in green. But normally when you chat, you're on the right, unless this is not Apple. So Mac, I don't know, WhatsApp. But WhatsApp, it's on the right also. I don't know. But Albright put this out there, right? Albright put out a chat from March yesterday. Okay. So where am I with this on Sunday morning? And again, I'm doing this because I know immediately I get texts from people like, you see this? So I'm talking of, just because you talk about it, not all things are being treated equally. All right. But count me as highly skeptical and certainly irresponsible by the score to call this a report. All right. Now, that's number one. Number two, is it believable? Okay. If you said to me, I'm going to redact the name of the person who reported it. It might be Schefter. It might be the score reposting from John Frashella. It could be anybody. But you blacked out their name and you said, this person, a person says Aiyuk has requested a trade. That is believable, right? There's a reason that on the score, the social page, report is big letters. And then Aiyuk is clearly, and then the reporter is smaller. If Schefter had reported this, would Schefter's name be bigger? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe this is just their format, but they would be smart to make Schefter's name big if Schefter had reported this, right? So, but if you had blacked out the name, is this a believable report? Okay, not this report, but is it believable? Let me put it a different way. Is it believable that Brandon Aiyuk would request a trade, quote unquote, as a tactic, less than 2 weeks before the NFL draft, as he's trying to get a contract extension, and it appears as if we're not making any progress? Yeah, that is definitely believable, right? That's believable. If you were being an extreme skeptic on this claim, you'd say, hey, this is a good bet to make. He probably will. He probably will say something. Now, there's a lot of evidence to this point that says he desires to remain with the 49ers, but you had the Instagram unfollow a couple days ago. Then you got this claim, right? I think one thing that has become clear to players, to agents, to teams, if you want to get a story some traction, it doesn't have to go through Schefter. In the world of aggregation, as long as you can get the score to pick it up and they make a cool little graphic, then you can at least get people to start talking. Now, does this make any people inside the league start sweating? Does it get people to call? Does it get things moving? I doubt that it really does. But again, is it believable? Yeah, it is believable that as a tactic to get a contract extension, Brandon Aiyuk and his agent would say, you know what, man, we've had enough. Get us out of here. A person with a much more known track record once reported that Jeff Darlington, that Deebo Samuel had requested a trade. Deebo Samuel has not been traded as of today. But that, and the request got rescinded or like denied or whatever. So, here's where I've been. If you haven't heard where I've been on Aiyuk is under contract. And he doesn't have a ton of leverage in the sense that not only is he under contract, but he can always get franchise tagged too, which they're not going to do. If you have followed for a few months since the season ended, you know what my position has been. I think the most likely outcome, and this is what I've said from like post Super Bowl, is that Brandon Aiyuk plays this year on his 5th-year option. That he does not get extended, that he does not get traded, that he plays this year on his 5th-year option. And then next year, the 49ers pay him. And that's not a great option, but it's not a terrible option for Brandon, right? He's not making $2 million this year. He's making $14 million this year. His income is $14 million this year. His gross income is $14 million this year. But 14, it's a significant increase in salary over last year. The 49ers are not, I don't think, incentivized to pay him $27 million this year, but if they extended him, they wouldn't pay him $27 million this year. I don't think there's a problem with how expensive their receiver room would be. I think the problem is, do they think he's worth almost $30 million a year? Do the Steelers think that? Are they desperate enough that, hey, our quarterback is so cheap, right? The Steelers are a good team to mention as it relates to Brandon Aiyuk because their quarterback is so cheap. To them, to Denver, he's a very expensive quarterback, but to Pittsburgh, he's very cheap. So they could afford to overpay. Pittsburgh's interesting, though, because Pittsburgh is very good at drafting receivers, at least initially. They're very good at short-term relationships with receivers. They're not good at finding receivers to marry. They're really good at finding receivers to date for a couple of years. And then that receiver, the Steelers' dating history with receivers is crazy. They got all these crazy hot receivers who then turn out to have serious problems that make them unmarriable, and so they don't marry. It's really wild, the track record that Pittsburgh has. I still think the odds are heavily stacked against Brandon Aiyuk being the one that drives here. But again, we're getting closer to the draft. More things are happening. You get the IG follow. The problem for Brandon, in a sense, is that he's not a diva. He's a very good teammate. He's a very good member of the organization. He was still working out at the facility at last check. And so when you start following the playbook of get me out of here tactics, they ring a little hollow, unfortunately. So he's really in a tough spot, you know. This doesn't change anything on my perspective. Do I think some teams would want him? Yeah, I think some teams would want him. But it doesn't feel like the league is falling over itself to trade a first to then pay Brandon Aiyuk top wide receiver money. Unfortunately for him, he's in a tough spot. And I think part of what makes it tough for him is that if you're going to convince a team to pay you 27, you kind of got to do it somewhere else where you can catch 110 balls, right? That's just not happening here. Now, I do think we're a year or two away from Aiyuk as a Niner catching like 95 or maybe almost 100 balls. It's not historically what happens, but I do think that could be in his future. The other reason that if you're the Niners, you're not all that interested in trading, there are so many reasons you're not interested in trading Aiyuk, right? And one of them is he is, outside of your quarterback, the youngest of your core offensive skill guys. Like he is in his prime, right? So if you pay Brandon Aiyuk, you are paying for his prime. You are not paying for past performance. And he has a great relationship with your quarterback. And you're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. So there's just not a lot there. One other thing I haven't said, but this goes back to the claim that the Niners and the Jags were talking. I don't even remember exactly what that story was, but it was clearly weak for what it was. It was weak for a trade report. Okay. It was not weak for what it was, which was just hypotheticals. I don't blame the reporter for that, but it's, you kind of know it's going to get misconstrued and you let it get misconstrued a little bit. But like this, what does officially requested a trade mean? When you hear that, you think it means officially requested a trade, but I'm skeptical of that too. I mean, things get misrepresented sometimes, not intentionally necessarily, but has Brandon Aiyuk has his agent told John Lynch, you know what, that's it, trade us. Now, as he said, hey man, we're going to explore some trades. I think you probably already kind of done that, right? Like teams know. Here's the thing, people. Teams know. Everybody is aware. If they want to trade for Brandon Aiyuk, then you call John Lynch. They're aware. John Lynch will answer his phone. Okay. They know. I think Aiyuk and his camp are kind of they're running out of time because it needs to happen before the draft, and they don't have a lot of leverage. So it's time for desperation. If they did it, and I don't even know they did it, and if they did it, by the way, I don't think it would matter. It would not matter. It would not change the 49ers tactic one bit, right? If his agent said, John, trade us to John Lynch, John, trade us, John would go, oh, okay, let me make some calls. No. So, whatever. It was a fun opportunity to come on and talk about it. And look, I am not 0% Brandon Aiyuk gets traded. I am, I think my number was 8%. 8% he gets traded. I put it, I got to go back and check the exact number, like 68% that he plays on the 5th-year option. I've said for weeks that I think it's the most likely outcome is 5th-year option. So maybe he gets traded. Maybe he does. But I'm not 50% maybe he does. I'm like 8%. I think the number's low. I just don't think there's a lot of logic to it. I don't think the Niners are incentivized to do it. I think they have the leverage. They have the desire to keep him because he's an integral part of a team that's about to try and win a championship. He's he's one of the best friends, quote unquote, on the field of your quarterback. He is entering his prime. Soon, some or all of Debo and Juwan Jennings and George Kittle, eventually Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Juszczyk, they will be gone. And the most likely guy to be remaining is Brandon Aiyuk. So in some ways, I almost want to be like, hey, guys, sorry for doing a story that is clearly, I don't even want to call it clickbait because they're not linking to anything. Clickbait is like, here's the story, click on it. Now I'm going to get something out of it. It's not that, but it's on this channel. I tend to talk about things that feel a little more solid than this, but I do know this is a thing that people will talk about. So I thought better to give my perspective on it. I'm not coming on here pretending like, all right, is it about to happen? Whatever. And maybe it gets traded an hour and we're like, oh shit, that guy nailed it. Dale says this has about as much credibility as TB12 coming back to play at 47. I did see Tom said the other day he wouldn't rule it out. Mike says fake, LOL. It has all the earmarks. And you know what? If you take one thing away from this video today, this is what I want it to be. Not everything is a report. And the word the word report should be reserved for reporters who have to follow journalistic standards. Now, the standards have changed a little. I mean, we could talk to some journalists, of which I am not a journalist. Let's be clear about that. Okay. But I do, this is not tongue in cheek, but I have a journalism degree, broadcast journalism degree. Okay. So I've taken journalism ethics and law classes. Like that matters to, or I guess it had some law in the ethics class. I didn't take a law class, not a lawyer. But that stuff matters to me. Okay. And once upon a time you had to have two sources. I'm not sure if, I don't know. I could ask somebody, I could ask somebody who writes for a publication who forces them to do whatever, who has an editor. Right. But that's my one take for you. The takeaway today is, is that not everything that people say are reports. This is not a report to me. This is a claim, and the claim may be true. Like on Wednesday, we may look back and go, God, that guy nailed it. He was right. Maybe he has some more information. And then the next time he claims something, I go, oh, that last thing was really true. It's not a personal thing or anything like that. It's just if I don't know. For me personally, I'm skeptical, but here is a channel where I tell you what I think. So I decided to have a public conversation about that today. He mentioned Benjamin Albright as the source. No, he did not. Okay. And that's, I appreciate the comment, but like, this is exactly what happened with the Jags thing a few weeks ago. Is it gets repeated, and then it becomes this other thing. Benjamin Albright's not a source to him. Benjamin Albright is a person that also posted something And he is saying, this person is saying, this is evidence that there is smoke here. Okay, that's what he's saying, but it's not. And I don't know if you're even using it, BV, in the way that I'm using it, but that's not what a source is. Sources. Yeah. Well, look, if someone wants to put something out there, I give them the chance to be right. But I also have no problem being skeptical and reserve the right to say, holy shit, that was bullshit. Ben says there's some good Mexican in Salt Lake City, LOL. You're probably talking about Red Iguana. Bill Walton once took me to Red Iguana after a game we did together. We got to come in through the kitchen and had a little table waiting for us. It was very nice. But my favorite place to eat in Salt Lake City is White Horse. White Horse. There's actually, look, I've been to Salt Lake City a million times. Salt Lake City has a fantastic, and I mean this, like, sincerely excellent food scene. But also, I live in California. I'm not going to Salt Lake City for the Mexican food. I got it every 10 steps here. Okay. I've been to the Mexican food in Salt Lake City. Red Iguana is wildly popular. Wildly popular. Even if he did request a trade, it doesn't matter. LOL. That is a fact. Austin. Feels like wide receiver extension drama 101. I took that class in community college. They teach that class at community college? A lot of divas at community college, Austin. I guess they're teaching you how to be one. Okay. Why would this guy be the guy to break it, says Bruce Jones. Now, I'm not about to defend this guy, John, but I kind of am in this sense. Anybody can break anything. Anybody can break anything. I think back on the steroid scandal in baseball. Who did it start with? It started with Jose Canseco. Now, maybe this is not a great analogy because Jose was definitely an expert on steroids. But at the time, he was dismissed as like, well, why would this guy is not credible? As the more I think about it, this is not a great comparison. Anybody can break anything. But until they've broken something, I'm skeptical, And Bruce, that's kind of, I guess, what I'm saying, right? But you never know. Sometimes, like, I've received information that other people don't have because shit happens. Like, somebody knows somebody's cousin's renting a house from somebody. I don't know. Somebody over time, somebody went to school with somebody maybe he does spent a lot of time cultivating sources and all that kind of thing. It might be true. I just don't know. So at this point, it has the earmarks of things that are claims, not things that are reports. Maybe later I'll look back and go, no, I was wrong. This had the earmark that this actually turned out to be a report. Maybe. I don't know. Twitter is bored per sources. Yes. Doesn't mean this. Yes, I am bored with Twitter right now. Scrolling. Aiyuk chill. Voice is getting strong. Timeline on my voice recovery. Well, we're just past 3 weeks of post vocal cord surgery. It's already costing me work. I was supposed to do the Oregon State spring football game this coming week. That's no longer going to happen. Luckily, Pac-12 Network's been excellent for me to work with, and we had a conversation. And they said, "You tell me." And I said, "I just don't feel like I'll be able to give this game its due. So I'm not doing the Oregon State spring game this weekend. The following weekend, 2 weeks from now, I'm supposed to do the Colorado spring game. Supposed to be in Boulder, see Coach Prime. Hopefully by then, at this point, I doubt it'll be 100%, but hopefully by then it's good enough to go do that Colorado spring game. So Jose, so the report's false. I don't know. I don't know if it is or it isn't. You come to this video, you want to know the answer. Is it true or is it false? And I could tell you, never heard this guy's bullshit. But I don't think that's the right way to handle it. And I don't know. I'm just telling you it has the earmarks of not a report of a claim. That's all. AB says, what bothers me about these reports come out and fans turn on Aiyuk without knowing. Why would you turn on Aiyuk? Even if it's true, why would you turn on that guy? This is just, if it were true, if that happened or whatever, if this report's not true, but it becomes true, whatever. Why would you, I don't even have time for that. Who cares? I don't even think that's a significant enough thing, but that's why I said, I don't necessarily believe this, but it is believable because this is how this shit goes. Darren said, weird shit happens. Remember when Eric Kendrick's thing where his roommate was like, nah, he's going to the Cowboys, and it turned out to be true. BA entering the portal. That's good. I watched the Ohio State spring game yesterday on Fox. It was a hell of a production. What do you think about Musselman to USC? Home run hire by the Trojans. I'm not a Trojan, but by the way, I'm wearing my Hey Guy hat. This is not a production hat. This is a sample hat. Right now, the plan is to first produce a hat that is not a Hey Guy hat. It's a draft hat. Working on it right now. Saw the latest renderings on Friday. Supposed to have some samples this week. It's going to be tight if we can produce these things by the draft. Again, not these hats, a special. I haven't told you yet what the design is. I think it's cool. I think you'll like it. I think it's unique. It's not even clear that it's a Guy Haberman YouTube podcast hat. It's merch that's unrelated to me that I think you're going to like. I think it's pretty cool. I've sent it around to some people and gotten some good feedback. And so we'll see what the samples look like. And I'm trying to figure out how many of them to make, but we'll see. Keep locked in for that. Cause I think you'll like them. Skepticism is the spice of life. I've never heard anybody say that, Matt, but that is some good wisdom right there, brother. Logan Ryan had an interesting comment about Brock and the Niners. Bigger news than the BA stuff. Yeah. I just know people will see this. They'll send it to each other in the group chats. It'll be on the Reddit. It'll, people are going to send it to me as they did. So here's my take. Okay. That's enough for Sunday morning. Got to go. We out. It's going to be a big day of eating. Some Masters watching. And a lot of hanging today. So hope you have a good Sunday. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Appreciate y'all. And we'll talk soon. Bye.